Okay, so here we go. The first thing that I want to share with you guys is the business model canvas. This is what we're going to do. We are going to go over the 9 blocks of the business model canvas. But if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat and we can pause if it's necessary. Or if not, we can hold the questions till the end. I don't mind, okay? So it's either you just put your questions in the chat and we address them as soon as possible. A little bit about myself. I think I met everybody. My name is Francisca Reyes. I'm with the Blackstone Launchpad powered by the University of California, Riverside EPIC. And we're also part of the Office of Technology Partnerships. And we're here at the Orbach Science Library. So the first thing that we're gonna go over is what is the business model canvas? The business model canvas, it's one tool that was created many years ago. And believe it or not, one of the things that it's interesting is because it was created to solve a problem. When a lot of people think that a business plan, it's a very long document and it's useful, but sometimes we need to start with a more simple method to address certain things about our business. So with that said, I'm presenting to you the business model canvas. It has 9 blocks. And as I told you, we're gonna go over all those 9 blocks one by one. And we're gonna talk a little bit about the tips and questions that, that come to life every time that we go over these 9 blocks. Then at the end, we're gonna go over the pros and the cons of using the business model canvas. And then we're gonna do an exercise. So we're gonna check and test your knowledge to see if you understand this method. So let's start with customer segments. One of the things that when you have a business idea or any type of idea, we're saying, for whom are you creating this? And then here's where we answer questions is like, is this for a large group of people or is for a few people? Is it for what an international market, or is this like for a niche market, or it's a market that we call it like segmented market? So we're saying like, oh, I have a group of individuals that are like age 25 to 35 that like Lady Gaga, or they're like, oh, I'm doing it for 45 years and older. Who are these groups of individuals? And one of the reasons why this is super important for us is to also understand who we're trying to connect with. And one of the things that is good about the business model canvas is this is customer oriented. It is not profit oriented, it's not product oriented, it's actually customer oriented. And that changes the motivations to why we're doing things. Obviously, we investigate what are the things that we're doing and how we're doing certain things, but motivations are why we're doing these things and for whom. So the next one, it's also what actually the most important element of the business model canvas, the value proposition. So this one is like, we're doing this for whom, but what are the greatest values or the greatest thing that we're offering to our customers? Like, what are the needs of these customers that we're trying to satisfy? Or like, or the problem that we're trying to solve? Or if they have a pain, how we alleviate that pain. So when we're talking about pain in this sense, we're talking about any type of struggle or discomfort that a customer might have, and saying how we're alleviating that discomfort or that pain that they're experiencing. And also we're saying, how is our offer so unique that it makes us different than the competition? So what are the things that we are adding or we are offering to our customers that they'll be like, I'll buy yours rather than the competitors, or let me check yours out, or let me know more about your product or service. Now, most of the time, all of us struggle with this value proposition, because this value proposition has to talk a little bit about the reasons why customers should pick our company, and also how we demonstrate these characteristics to the customers. So most of the time when we're doing a value proposition, we have to explain it with either like the performance or the savings or the optimization or cost reductions or risk reductions or accessibility. And most of the time we also have to list this as improvements, sometimes in percentages, and say, mine saves you 10% of your time. Mine will reduce 5 hours of your day. Mine will speed up your productivity by 2.5% or something along those lines. And most of the time we struggle because it's difficult for us to explain those things in a good way. And that is the reason why as a pause or a parenthesis, we'll talk a little bit about the value proposition canvas. This is something that not a lot of people use when we're building a business model canvas, but it's the foundation. The value proposition canvas starts on the right side with the customer profile. So this is the foundation for a persona, and it's a word that we use in business. Like I told you, a 25-year-old that likes Lady Gaga and buys in the weekends, that is a persona, right? So that is an illustration of a fictitious character that we have that we think illustrates the best to the customer that we're trying to address, right? Now, if you notice over there in the right, in the circle where we have the customer profile, they have on the right side, they have this idea of customer jobs. What are customer jobs? Well, customer jobs are the activities that the customer has to do on a daily basis. The things that they have to do either because it's part of their jobs or in their daily lives, or they have a routine. But this is where we're saying, what are the things that a customer has to do all the time or needs to accomplish on a daily basis? And that gives us actually good ideas on how we can create ideas or how we can add value to their lives and knowing our customers. Another thing has to do with if they have any problems or that they probably don't know much about it, but you can see their struggle. And another one is like, how does your customer want to be perceived? Like if he wants to be perceived as a very intelligent person or as a cool person, or as a person that is really into gadgets, what do you think is the aspirations for this person, how that person wants to be seen by the other people? That is on the right side. On the top, we have over here the gains. And the gains is talking about the things that increase value or to this particular person, or that increase the likelihood of adopting from a customer, like something that a customer sees as a benefit. And if that increases its expectations or increases his or her delight. And that's another word that we use when we talk about business model canvas. The word delight is like, oh, you create so much satisfaction and well-being in me that you make me all warm and fuzzy. And then the one at the bottom is talking about pains. And the pains is anything that annoys our customers. Either before or during getting all these jobs done. It's like, oh, I get frustrated because traffic, or because my computer takes forever in starting, or because I get a virus, or because I call customer service that they put me to wait 20 minutes. All the things that annoy us in a daily basis, they're causing us pains, right? Now, that's on the right side. And now let's go to the left. On the left one, we have the value map. And here's what we can work on to increase our value proposition. Because we're saying, okay, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm looking for ways to add value to your life. So how can we do this? Well, we can do several things. The first one over here on the far left is that we can create products and services, right? Keeping the customer in mind and all the things that we discover about these customers, we can see like, oh, I'm going to create a product just for you because see, you told me that you're struggling on this or you're doing this job on a daily basis. I can create a product or a service directly to answer your pleas, right? Like, ta-da, here it is, the answer to your challenges. Now, the other ones are like the pain relievers. As the name implies over here on the bottom, we're talking about products or services that alleviate these customer pains, these struggles, that we solve these, that we present a solution to them. They're saying, this is your struggle, here's the solution to your struggle. Or even further, like the competition already addressed your pain, but it didn't solve it completely. Like there's still some more things that we can improve, and here's our solution to that. The other one on the top is actually more exciting as well because they're like game creators. And there's the ones that actually are for customer gains. And here, one of the things that I wanted to point out is that we're creating an increase in the sense of well-being from the customer, like we're making them happier or feeling better. And one thing that I just wanted to also point out is that when we're doing these things, we also consider something that is known from as Bain's elements of value. I don't know if you have heard about the hierarchy of Maslow. And we're talking about like humans have different levels of needs. At the beginning, we have at the bottom of this hierarchy, we have basic needs. Well, here in Bain's elements of value, we're saying that we can create products or services that are functional, right? So they help us to do those jobs, right? Like, oh, I need a scanner, I need a tape recorder, I need a phone that can do 10 things at the same time. So functional products that have so many functions, so many things that can help us. Other ones, when we move on into the scale of needs, we have emotional needs and we create emotional products and services. To say products or services that increase our level of happiness. Then once we get older or our tastes and preferences become more sophisticated, we also have life-changing products or services. They're saying, oh, okay, I was a college student, but now I'm a graduate student. I have my first job. So I need other types of good products or services. Or now I'm like, I passed 40, or now I'm married, now I have children, or now I have a family, or things like that cause changes in our perception and what the things that we like and the things that we don't like. And because of that, we have an opportunity to also create those products or services that are going aligned with these life-changing stages in our lives. And other ones are like products or services that make us feel better because we are creating a positive impact in the world, or when they have some of impact in like social change. We're saying, oh, okay, I'm drinking coffee in my recycled cup, so I'm not polluting the environment. Or I'm wearing a shirt that is out of recycled materials. Things like that that go beyond the taste and preferences, but we keep the mentality of social impact, of social well-being. So it's not only about the individual, but now it's like the whole community. Now, the good thing and the interesting thing and what we're trying to do is merge both of these things. The right side, what the customer needs, and the left side, the value that we can provide to them. And when we actually align those things, that's the perfect fit. And that is what it gives us the opportunity to have a great value proposition. Because now, if we offer a product or service that connects with the customer, now we have a lot of opportunities for us to get more customers, but not only one-time customers, but loyal customers, right? And those are the ones that we want. We don't want somebody that only buys from us one time, right? We want them for a lifetime so we can grow with them. So that is like, in a sense, the most important block of the business model canvas. Then we go to the next one that it's about channels. And when we're talking about channels is when we're discussing how we're going to connect the value proposition and give it to the customers, make it available to the customers. So how are we going to do that? Well, there are several things that we have to consider. The first one is, who was our customer? Because if we're reaching out, let's say young individuals like you, probably you prefer a web or mobile channel, right? You will say, oh, I want just to put everything in a website or in an app. But if you're like reaching out to a more mature audience, you'll say, well, maybe I need a little, retail store, right? People will like to walk in. So this is also centric to the customer. Like, how do you think it's the best way to connect with your customers? Or you can do several, right? You can have your store, the brick and mortar store. That's when you can walk into the store and see the products or learn a little bit more about the services, or you can do this virtually online for all those things. But one of the things that is important about this is that how are we going to reach out to them? What are the levels of awareness that our customers have to have of this? I'm going with the value proposition is that if you know that your clients are looking for something that it's easy to understand and you give them a very complex product or service, they're like, explain, how does this work? You've seen this, right? Like when something's very complicated, you're like, no, I'm going to go with a simple solution rather than the complex solution. So keep the customer in mind at all times. Now, also, how we going to connect with them, how they're going to pay, how they're going to purchase these things. And also, how we going to deliver these products or services to them? Can they just grab them from, the shelves? Or they have to order them and wait for them to get it in, from UPS. How are we going to deliver these products or services to them? Are we going to give it with instructions, or they have to figure this out by themselves? Or are we going to give them educational materials? Or are we going to train them before and after the purchase? So what are we going to do to connect with these customers? Then the next one, it goes along the lines of that, and it's called customer relationships. So this one says about what type of relationships does each of the customer segments expect the company to establish and maintain with them. So when we're talking about like, yes, I want them to remember my birthday, or I want them to send me cards or discounts every Christmas, or I want to get part of their newsletter so I can know what's going on with them, or they can send me updates, or maybe they can send me texts of what's the new, product. How are we going to connect with them? How are we going to maintain those relationships? And remember, we're talking about that we want to establish a relationship with them solid enough that they're not only one-time customers, that they can stay many, many, many years. Or maybe we're going to tell them, well, if something breaks, you can bring it back and we can, replace it. We're going to give you a warranty or, a free trial period or something along those lines. So how are we going to try to maintain a strong relationship with them? But remember, we're talking about humans. We're talking about customers, people. So it's also if you're going to get to know them at a personal level, if you're going to know like their dog's names or what they do on the weekends and what they want to do for fun and their aspirations and goals in life and all those things. So how are we going to maintain that? And then we move on to those other things. Now, when we're talking about these 4 blocks, we call this side of the business model canvas as the product market fit. These basically we're saying all these 4 elements can help me to see if I have the ability of this product to satisfy the needs of the market. And if I am actually providing a good solution to the problem or a good pain reliever of the pain or satisfying all the needs that they have. So once we evaluate all these 4 things in conjunction as a group, we can say, okay, this is my strategy to reach out to these customers or to that fictitious character that I create as a persona. And these are the things that I'm gonna do to actually engage with them constantly, or to the aspirations of the customer, right? Going back to the customer relationships, there are other people that are like, I don't want anything from you. I don't want your newsletter. I don't want you to put me into your mailing list. I don't want you to get my information in a database because somebody might just copy it or things like that. But going back to this is customer oriented. If the customer wants you to follow them, you follow them. If they don't want anything from you, I mean, besides the product or service, you have to respect what they want, right? So that is aside. Let's move on to the, I guess I'll pause here, see if there's any questions or comments. No comments, questions?
I do have a quick question.
Okay,
Francisca.
Magdalena. Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Magdalena. Nice to meet you. So my question was for the value propositions, and you talked about having the customer segments. So customer segments, why is it S, segments? Why can't we just say customer?
Oh, well, no. Well, you can have one segment. Basically, what we're saying, customer segment, it's one group.
One group, got
and
it.
you can have several. I mean,
Okay.
not necessarily just one. You can have
Okay.
many. Now, one of the things that happens is that if you identify many, you will have to do this exercise for all the groups. So basically you'll have to do, let's say you have 3 customer segments, you will have to do 3 business model canvases, one for each of the segments, because if they're probably has similar things or things in common, but sometimes they might have slight differences, and you'll have to think about how you're going to address the differences from one group to the other.
And
right?
and that would affect the value propositions too.
In a certain way, yes, because it's like, let's say if the segment it's age-based or geographic-based, you know that the taste and preferences of them might change, right? Or even the way you're going to connect. Let's say that I'm 45 and I still have Facebook, but if you ask a 20-year-old, they'll say like, what's that? I use Instagram or I use something else. You know what I mean? So because of that difference, you have to think of strategies of how you're going to connect with them, or the problem is it feels different for them, right? Or they need other types of solutions or value-added things to their product or service.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions?
Hi, can I ask a follow-up question about this?
Sure.
Yeah, maybe this is a very naive question. I wonder how to classify customer into different segments. For example, is there like a characteristic? For example, probably we can classify them based on age, or based on based on our products, or based on let's say their customer habits or something. How can we classify them?
Well, there is where you have one of the things that we do most of the time is like identify them in our customer discovery. In that process is when we actually ask people to tell us what are they using right now. Not trying to sell them anything, but saying, what are their tastes and preferences, the things that they like or they don't like about something. Let's say, for example, that we're going to talk about Uber in a few minutes. Let's say that some people do not like Uber, right? Some people actually like to drive, right? So that's, for example, a customer segment for Uber, saying the people that like to drive, right? That they actually enjoy the thing of staying behind the wheel and roll the windows down and feel the air in their hair or things like that. That is a customer segment that Uber it has to analyze to see how they can actually tap into that group, right? Or other people saying, I don't like that. I prefer public transportation, right? I like to get in the bus because it's efficient and it's for the community good and things like that. That is another customer segment. How do you identify? To answer your question is like, you start analyzing what are the the users of existing products or similar products or services, and you start paying attention to what they're doing. And then you try to somehow, and I think it's about sometimes a bad thing that you classify them, you put them in boxes, and you're like, okay, this person fits this box because it's like, because it's their age, the things that they like, their hobbies, their income, their, I mean, the things that, I mean, the things that they do, or their consumer behavior, right? The things that they buy, like, or the things that they do on a regular basis. Most of the time, yes, people also classify them as, I mean, and geographically, because sometimes it's easier because we think like, well, we have similarities because we live in the same city, right? We do similar things one way or the other. Or sometimes by age groups, because we're like, well, people for the same age group do similar things. And maybe it's not I mean, that is actually the example that I have, but even if you say you have a group of people that are like the same age, they live in the same community, there is where you have to go deeper and understand the differences in their behaviors. And that's where you're going to say like the ones that are like technically savvy, and actually we call those people that the ones that buy the iPhone like an hour 2 minutes before it gets released, or the ones that are in Best Buy doing a waiting line. I mean, it's like those are like the arrowheads, right? Or like if I am the one that it's like waits 2 months or 3 months, I'm the lagger, right? Or the one that still uses a flip phone. It's like my point is that when they're similar, like very similar people in age or geographically, you need to start going deeper into their behaviors or the things that they like and they dislike. And that way you can have customer segments. But this is fundamentally different from the product or service that you're trying to offer based on your business idea.
Okay.
Because yeah, so I don't know if you can tell, maybe if you want to tell us you have a business idea right now.
No, I'm just curious. I don't have a
fantastic. But let's say that you have an idea. Let's say that I want to create something similar to Uber. So my first take for this is like, okay, I'm gonna go and ask people around like who uses Uber or Lyft or any other rideshare platform to move. And then I learn from them in this customer discovery process. And I actually put them in groups, right? The one that does it because doesn't have a car, or the one that does it because gas is too expensive, or the one that uses it for because it's running late, or the ones that, I mean, so that way you start boxing them or putting them in these categories, in these segments.
I see. It's kind of like a layered tree to classify them layer by layer, then go deeper.
Yes.
Okay. I see. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So let's move on to the next question. The next question is about money. And sometimes people get scared about this because it's like, how are we gonna actually going to price things, or how the customers are going to pay for the product or service that we're offering them. Some people were like, oh, I'm gonna copy the prices from the competitors. Sometimes actually pricing itself, science itself, actually, because you're like, if you probably have heard, like if you charge too much, the customers might not want it, or if you charge too little, they'll have perception that it's poor quality, or if you go with the same price of the competitor, how you gonna differentiate yourself with this, or if you're going to do this where, let's say, you're going to first account for all the costs for this product or service, and then you're gonna say like, oh, I wanna be rich really fast, and I'm gonna put 100% profit margin, so I'm gonna double that. There's many things that you have to consider on this. But this blog is more about if you're gonna give them subscriptions, if you're gonna give them memberships, if you're gonna charge different prices for the customer segment. So let's say that I'm going to charge 50% of the price to the college students, and I'm gonna charge a premium of 200% to the rich people, how are you going to do this accordingly to these groups? Or also like how if you also going to give them any type of discounts. This the perfect example of this is also if you're going to account for volume purchases. Like if you order, let's say, something pretty much in any platform, saying, oh, I'm going to buy 10 shirts and I'm going to buy them for $10 each. But if I order 100, they're gonna just charge me $5 for them because it's like a volume pricing structure, right? So that's something that you need to consider in this section. The next one talks a little bit about key resources. So in this one, we're talking about what are the things that you have to do, the things that you have to carry on the value proposition. What do you have in your company to offer this value proposition, this product or service to the customer? Do you have key employees? You have an awesome team. You have actually a lot of energy, right? As an entrepreneur, you're like, yes, I'm young. I have an awesome idea. It's me. I'm the main asset to my company. That's fantastic. You can also add intellectual property. Say, my idea was protected and I have this solid patent, or I have very good, logo, and I have all these things, and I have, let's say, I have other things like equipment, or I already have my space, my store. What are the resources that you have, the things that can help you to deliver this value proposition? The next one is about the key activities, the things that you must do to make this happen. What are the things that you have to do? Let's say that if I told you at the beginning that the customers want or expect from you to send them newsletters or thank you cards and birthday cards and all those things, you probably have to have a very solid like social media outreach, or you'll have to have like database and create newsletters every weekend, or like post on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter every other day. So all the things that you have to do to continue with these expectations of the customers, right? Or if the activities, if you have a website or if you have an app, you have to constantly look for bugs or for, any complaints, how you gonna answer them. You're gonna revisit or review your servers and back up your server every day or every Friday or every month. All the activities that you have to do to keep your customers happy and to deliver this value proposition. So this one, it's about activities, like the things that you have to do. And the resources are like the tools that you use to do those activities. And then on this block that we have the key partners. So here we're talking about the partnerships that we have to create with other people or other organizations so we can carry on or we can deliver these activities or do these activities. And here your partners could be, let's say, another company or another, or let's say the technical assistant company that can help you to do those activities with your server, or a marketing or publicity company that is going to help you with all the social media, or a freelancer that is going to help you with this, all these things, or like a coder that is going to help you to do these activities in your app, or all those things. Now, here it's also people that can bring influence to your customers. So for example, if yours requires some legal things, like people that are like in that industry that can give like a thumbs up or like support you either, with some work or just with values or testimonials that say like, you're good to go, or you're partners with this. Sometimes it's like the Chamber of Commerce or any other association of the same profession, same industry that you can partner with to join forces so you can deliver a better value proposition. And then we get to the last So when we're talking about these three things, this is what we know as the operations view. Here is where we're saying all these three things are critical for us to run operations, to get things done, to make things happen. And then we get to the last one, that is the cost structure. The cost structure is actually when we identify how much it costs us to do the key activities or pay for the key resources or to maintain the key partnerships, right? And remember, these are things that we have to do to deliver this value proposition. So it's like, okay, I have to hire a coder, or I have to hire this publicity firm, or I have to hire somebody to help me with social media, or I have to hire like my secretary, or I have to pay rent for my retail store, or I have to pay for the license for the software where I'm doing my design, or I have to pay my attorney to help me with my patent. All the things that are carrying a cost to this idea. And then when you combine these two at the bottom, it's actually when we actually subtract the money that you got in minus the cost and how much money we have left, because we want to make money, right? Or at least like have it like balance out, right? Like break even, like make enough money to pay the bills. So if we're making money or not, and if we have enough profits or not. And obviously here we're talking about cash flow, having enough money to pay for our financial obligations and have enough money either on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. So that way, when the 15th we have to pay the electricity bill, you have money in your pocket, right, to do those things, or like to pay your rent. So basically, that is what is the business model canvas. When we actually put this in all these blocks together, everything fits in one page. And that is the great thing about the business model canvas compared to the business plan, because the business plan could be 10 pages, 20 pages, or even longer. But a business model canvas can help you because that way you can see many elements, as we discussed, many elements in there, right? You see your plan of like who's your customer, how you're going to connect with your customer, what are the things that you have to do to deliver this value proposition, and then how much it's going to cost you, how much you're going to charge them, your assumptions of how much money you're going to make, and all those things. So those are like the pros of the business model canvas. The cons of the business model canvas is that it doesn't do much about projections, right? It doesn't do much also in terms of the financials or going beyond this. And in other instances, in other conversations, let's say with an investor or with when you're actually looking for a business loan or a grant, they'll ask you more specifics about this. So that is not listed here in the business model canvas. It's actually done in a business plan. So it has good elements, but it doesn't have everything. So you cannot consider this the only solution to describe your business idea. It's a good solution, but it's not the solution to all this. Okay, it's just another method. So let's stop right there because it's time to do questions, Q&A, and then we can move to the exercise because this is a workshop and we're going to go over an exercise. Questions, comments?